Good evening. Welcome to tonight's 4-day school week community forum. I'm Archie Roman, Superintendent of Clearwater R1. So the information presented tonight is information proposed for a 4-day school week. It is assumed that we understand what a 5-day school week looks like because that's the current system that we're using. So the question you might be asking yourselves, how did this proposal come to be? So the CPA and the calendar committee brought the proposal to the Board of Education for discussion and consideration. But to be clear, a decision to change to a 4-day school week has not been made at this time. This presentation of information in no way expresses the opinion of the presenters or individual school board members. So during the presentation, we ask that there be no interruptions. However, periodically, we will stop and take questions about specific topics to be discussed. When we do provide the audience with the opportunity to ask a question, we would ask that you raise your hand and to be recognized so that Mr. Keller can come to you with the microphone to repeat your question so that everyone in the audience can hear your question. If you have a question that's not covered in the listed items, we ask that you wait to the end of the presentation for an open question session. Since this is not our current practice, we may not have all the answers at this time. However, we would like to provide the most accurate information about how a 4-day school week might work if adopted. So at this point, I'd like to ask the administrative team to introduce themselves.
Good evening, I'm Lisa Town, I'm a Special Services Administrator for the district.
You're welcome, high school principal.
I'm Chuck McFadden, I'm the middle school principal.
Elizabeth Chadbourne, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Michael Keller, elementary principal and transportation director.
So thank you very much. So with that, we'll go ahead and start the presentation. I believe Mr. McFadden starts out.
I just want to start by echoing what Mr. DeRowan had mentioned. I know a lot of this information that we're going to be presenting is going to sound like we're pushing a 4-day school week. The issue at hand is, of course, that we have, and we've been practicing a 5-day school week. The information that we're going to be presenting is going to be from the perspective of a 4-day school week. So yes, it is going to sound like we're pushing one side more than the other. However, we all know what a 4-day school and a 5-day school week looks like. So no further ado, Mrs. Chadbourne, please go on to the next slide. I want to talk about why we are considering moving to a 4-day school week. The first bullet point here that we have is increased student and staff attendance. Right now, it's the current model, 5 days a week, school does not have a built-in opportunity to schedule things like doctor's appointments, any other sort of out-of-school appointment. And so whenever staff and students have to miss, those days kind of get their cumulative attendance. In theory, a 4-day school week would give an opportunity, depending on what day that we schedule the day off. That would be an opportunity for staff, students, and parents to make the necessary arrangements so that we would not be missing as much instructional time throughout the school week. Number two, a 5-day and a 4-day school model include the same number of required hours over the school year. That's been a point of conversation amongst the administration team that obviously by losing 1 day a week, we want to make sure that we're balancing instructional time so that we're making the the smallest change as far as instruction as possible. Right now, the school day would be lengthened by approximately 30 minutes. All of those 30 minutes would be directly tied to instructional time. Number 3, we want to continue employing high-quality educators. A 4-day school week could increase our recruitment retention. I'm going to get right to the nuts and bolts of things. I think number 3, personally, is probably the most important reason for this. As you'll see here, as we move along through this presentation, this is not a Clearwater only movement. This is something that a lot of area school districts, especially rural Missouri school districts, are looking at this option specifically for recruiting teachers and retaining teachers. The most effective instruction is going to come from highly qualified educators. This gives us an opportunity to do that. Number 4, providing mental health breaks for students and staff. I think everybody understands by the end of the 5-day school week, if you've never worked in a school or volunteered in a school, students are pretty much into the wits end by the end of that. This would be a providing opportunity to break up that. Go to the next slide. Number 5, increase teacher collaboration and planning time to provide quality educational experiences. In the proposed calendar for the 4-day school week, at least one professional day per month on Monday would be used specifically for teacher collaboration and professional development. That is another huge selling point on the administration side. We have a lot of state mandated trainings that we have to get in, and as the teachers are aware, we try to get as much done as we possibly can before the start of school. This would allow us to kind of sprinkle that out over the year and have more training opportunities, more vertical team meetings, collaboration, and things that we don't necessarily have the opportunities to do now. Number 7, 30% of Missouri school districts implement successful 4-day school weeks. As I was mentioning earlier, this isn't a new idea, and it's not just unique to Clearwater. If you take a look around the VRL, East Carter, Bunker, and Ellington, 3 out of the 6 schools in VRL that already moved to the 4. It's something that's more popular now than ever. Okay? I'm not saying that's the only reason that we're moving to it, but it's something to consider. Number 8, our district is committed to ensuring that our students have a variety of educational enrichments, such as VOTEC, dual credit courses, and extracurricular activities. 4-day week allows us more opportunities to engage students and enrich their overall educational experience. The next thing that I want to talk to you about is a comparison between the 4-day week and the 5-day week. Obviously, 5-day week we're all kind of familiar with. However, currently there are 2 proposed district calendars for the 24-25 school year. This information comes directly from both of those proposed calendars. Neither one of these calendars are board approved. Okay? So these are proposed. These could change. Things could be different. But as it sits today, the 5-day school week, the instructional hours would occur between 7:55 and 3 p.m. or 3:15 p.m. It's the same thing we do right now, no change. A 4-day week would mean that the instructional hours would occur 7:45 to 3:35. Roughly a 30-minute increase over what we do currently.
Excuse me, don't mean to interrupt. If you're looking for this information, it's the very back page of your handout.
Continuing on, the 5-day week, the first day of school will be August 20th, 2024. That's the same on both the 4- and 5-day calendars. However, the difference between the 4- and the 5-day calendars is the 5-day calendar has the last day of school being May 15th, 2025, and the 4-day would be May 22nd. So not only do we have to go 30 minutes over per day, but there is an extension of the school year by a week. In the current proposed 5-day calendar, we have 18 weeks with less 149 instructional days. Winter break on the 5-day calendar would be December 23rd through January 6th. 4-day, it would be January 23rd to January 1st. So a slight reduction in the Christmas break. Both of these calendars meet the required number of instructional minutes for DESI standards. Okay? So we're not going to be short any minutes of instruction that is required per DESI. In fact, both of these calendars go beyond and exceed the minimum required. Next up, I'd like to introduce high school principal Dr. Daniel Ball.
Sorry, that's new. I did a lot of research on the calendars, and that's what I did. I researched the 4-day weeks in my dissertation, so that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. We're going to show you a couple different studies that have been turned over to the public, or this one's been turned over since January, that one's been run since 2021. This one was produced by the Department of Education Secretary. It studied the 4-day week before the pandemic and then after the pandemic. Okay, and here's what the results it said. Okay, overall, the 4-day week was neither helpful nor harmful for academic achievement or building growth. Okay, those results are in line with the previous research from other states. Okay, in my research, the results are always mixed. Okay, some states say it helps academic stuff for academic achievement. Some states say that it doesn't. It just depends on what they're looking at. Results, regardless of statistical significance, were very small. I believe in this study that the results overall it showed a negative, not a negative, a decrease in achievement, but it was not considered statistically significant. Okay, results hold true when controlling the districts that switch after the pandemic. So even after the pandemic, the results are still the same. Results tell us what's happening, but not why. Important things we need to consider. Okay, there is importance in that today. Okay, if everything is equal, everything across the curve, up, bottom, less things. Okay. No doubt, equal facts. Okay, but for places like here in Clearwater, people are opting to get a 4-day week to help, which is what your admin is going to look at, is to help maintain and recruit well-certified educators. Okay, changes in the total instructional time. Okay, from my research, as long as you hit close to 30 hours, okay, of instruction each week, your academic achievement says it will not. Accurate, I hope that's what the statistics show us. And with the 4-day week, I believe we get just under 30 hours. 29.33. Okay, difference in impact based on your urban areas. Okay, in schools will only see the benefits of rural areas. Potential impact of other outcomes, because there's always going to be an impact that we don't think of. Okay? Money for schools is one of the original reasons why the 4-day week was put in, but it doesn't show to have, they thought it would be a 20% increase because you're going 20% less every day. And it really shows somewhere between 2 and 5% of usually an increase. But for small districts, it could be in your small rural districts, you get 200 kids or less, that could be the price. The other research that we study we want to talk about is one performed by Brandon. Okay. This one is a little bit hard to see, but you've got 2 different types of findings on here. You have qualitative and quantitative. Qualitative is basically what that means is what people think it's going to do, or what they say it's going to do. Okay? And then your quantitative, which is your right side, is actually what your data shows. For this, factors, summarizing the findings, the factors playing a role in policy decisions regarding the 4-day school. Okay, your factor districts save money and reallocate those funds small amount, people think it's positive. In this research, they didn't actually research it, that's what the stands for. Recruitment and retention, people think it's positive. For this one, it didn't specifically research that aspect. Teacher attendance, they think it's positive. For this actual research, it didn't show, or they didn't research it. But in the studies I did, most of the information I said that each one of those, it showed a slight increase. Statistic, the satisfaction with the 4-day week, people think it'd be positive. The stats show that it's positive. Students have additional time to spend with family, both considered to be a positive. Student attendance, people think it'd be a positive, and this study didn't show any difference. Behavior and emotional well-being, most people think it's going to be positive, it showed no difference. Parent stress, people think it'd be a positive, and didn't show any difference in the study. Climate for your schools, again, everybody thinks it's going to be a positive, but in this study, it showed no difference. Sleeping and fatigue, some people think it's going to be positive, some think it's going to be negative. Here was a positive and a difference. It showed a positive in elementary students. Okay, it showed a positive in, and actually, it says no difference, I think, down just a little bit for your high school students. Student achievement, some think it's going to be positive, some think it's going to be no difference or a negative, and some of it showed that it went down a little bit, or it showed no difference whatsoever. Food insecurities, family resources, student enrollment, and your physical activity, it showed no difference in those areas. Okay. Research on this is mixed, I told you. It depends on what study you want to look at. Okay. So, it can be a positive, it can be a negative, it just depends on what you're trying to do for. For me, for what I think it would help is teacher retention and recruitment, I think it's positive. That's what the data shows. From this point forward, I'm going to try to answer some of the questions that are on our board. Turn that over to Mr. Bowe.
Thank you, Dr. Baca. And Mr. McFadden, thank you. So at this point, we are going to go over some frequently asked questions, and we will stop and see if there are any questions along the way related to each of these topics. And they are repetitive a bit from what was sent in the flyer, the mailers, and what you receive now. But they're meant to generate some questions from you, and that's what Mr. Keller will be doing through here. So the first question is, approximately what time will school start and stop? Mr. McFadden's addressed this earlier when he said that we're starting at 7:45 and we'll go to 3:35. One thing that I want to point out with this is that not only does it increase the instructional day for kids, it also increases the work day for school staff. So the work day would be rescheduled to match the increase that we have for students. It also relates to when buses start and stop. So you would add 15 minutes earlier in the morning, or excuse me, 10 minutes earlier in the morning and 20 minutes later in the evening to get home. So it does extend the day for kids and staff alike. And it does change the time that we pick kids up and drop them off at the house. So with that, if we have any questions, we'll entertain those related to the school day.
So that's when the kids get off the bus 30 minutes later in the afternoon, and I see some of them already riding till 5 or 5:15. What's that as transportation record for you?
Well, as far as that, actually, there's no buses out at 5:15. The first student is picked up at about 6:45. So if you're going 15 minutes earlier, we're gonna have to back it up to like 6:30. In the afternoon, later Friday-based bus is back at 4:30. So you're gonna back that up about 20 minutes, which would be 10 minutes to 5. So. Is that correct, Stacy? What time is yours? Okay, so I was 5 minutes off. Your child was the one I was thinking of. But 5 minutes difference from that then. I see another question down here. I'll try and make it as quickly as I can.
How will it affect after-school sports and clubs and things like that?
Good question. Should we direct that to athletics?
So we will discuss athletics in a different, as another frequently asked question that's on here. I do have, you're fine, totally fine. We've met with the athletic director, Zach, where he's got some information and I'll go over for that question.
Yes.
If you're gonna add 30 minutes a day, approximately how many minutes are you gonna add to each class? And how can that make a difference?
And for quality instruction.
We're going to address that specifically. We are adding 30 minutes. It will be somewhat different at elementary versus junior high and high school, simply because we have credits being earned at junior high and high school. But to answer your question, in regards to preschool through 6th grade, the intent and plan is, as of today, to add that to all those minutes to be dispersed among core instruction. So ELA, science, social studies, mathematics. In regards to 7th grade through 12th grade, because we are on a bell schedule, and the way we have to add in time in that way, it will be added to each hour. So it will be divided into the instructional hours, but it will be divided among all 8 hours. So each class period will be extended somewhat. We're gaining back some time in that prior to 4-day school week being discussed this school year. We have been looking at ways to improve or protect instructional time, and one of those ways that we're going to do that is our 7th through 12th grade. Currently, students have 5 minutes to pass between classes, and so we are going to reduce that to 4 minutes. Probably not a popular statement among students, but that is the plan, and you are correct, sir. That will not give us back a complete day of instruction, but we are making every effort in the event that it is adopted to put it back into core instruction and instructional time.
Yep, hang on just a second.
So, I also done a lot of research on my dissertation, but I looked at some of the same studies, and you're correct that if instructional time for the week comes out to about 30 hours plus, student test scores and achievement stay about the same. But we're just barely underneath that with this proposed schedule. That's a concern. But also, and then making the school day even more than what's proposed is also a concern. The RAND study also says that students at 4-day week schools score about the same, but they don't learn and progress as much as their peers at 5-day schools in similar schools. So over a school year, they're 5 or 6 weeks behind. Over 12 years of education, that's like a grade and a half behind their peers at 5-day week schools. So what consideration is being given to those potential outcomes or impacts?
Thank you, Mr. Centel. We are still in exploration, to be completely transparent. Unfortunately, I don't have as a curriculum director, I do have concerns about instructional time. But at the end of the day, I've been in education my whole life. When I turned 5, I'm a 26-year educator. All I've ever done is 5 days a week, except for in college. There are going to be some subjects and content areas at grade levels that I do not see it having as big of an impact. There are going to be other content areas that we are going to have to be very creative. And in addition to that, what I have been doing is preliminary research in the event that this is adopted to provide professional development for teachers in regards to how to get the most out of our instructional time period. For example, if you're looking at an 80 to 90 minute block, brain research shows us that the brain learns and remembers best what comes first, second best what comes last, and the least of what comes in the middle. So we will have to learn how to take our instructional hours and divide those into learning acts or episodes, if you want to look at it that way, so that you have multiple starts and ends, which is aligned to brain research, which shows it promotes learning, rather than the traditional method of which I went through school and was taught in high school, for example, primarily a lecture, and then time to work in the classroom, and I came back the next day and we checked our work, and we had another lecture. We are going to have to, if adopted, look into changing our approach, and it's going to look different within each content area. ELA is very easy to take priority standards and supporting standards and teach them in a theme or a unit. When you get to more discrete mathematical content, that's going to be a challenge. If adopted, we are up to the challenge, and we will commit everything that we have to protecting instructional time, and with the use of the collaborative day for teachers to meet in teams and such. One of our goals will be to redesign our approach to instruction to get the most out of our time.
My question is, the way my household works, we're selling this on family, a little more family time. If you got 2 parents that work at home, longer school day, you got 2 parents that work, 3 kids come home, it's not more family time. I'm still going to work, my wife's still going to work, my kids are going to school even longer. While they're going to school, by the time they get home, hit every club and every organization that my kids are involved in, it's less family time. That's a concern in my house. The fact that by the time we go to school longer, by the time we do homework, we have a little bit of time for church, I want to see my kid an hour, spend an hour with my kid before we go and start doing showers and get ready for the next day. I think that's appropriate. If it's not, I'd like somebody to tell me different.
Well, I wanted to address, you were talking about retention and learning, and that we do better at the beginning and in the end or not at the middle. My experience seems to be that by the end of the day, the children are very restless already. And so how does an extra 20 minutes at the end of the day improve the retention of the students?
That is something we are looking into. A lot of that is going to be on the instructor in the classroom. And I don't say that lightly. I say it in that we set the tone for the classroom. As a classroom teacher, if I work bell to bell, my kids are working with me bell to bell. But if I pause and I think, oh, 2:50, good, I can start packing my stuff up and getting ready with the kids, or while they're working, they're going to see that and model after me, and they tend to shut down. So our solution is we teach bell to bell. Now, I do have concerns with the younger kids being burnt out. I remember specifically my son, who's in college now, his first week of kindergarten, he and I both cried every day after school. That's no lie. He was simply exhausted. And by week 3, we seemed to get into a routine. So, I don't have an answer for it. I agree with you, and it's something we're going to have to work on. And we'll continue to study if adopted.
So, Ms. Chandler mentioned protecting instructional time. Have you all checked with other school districts to see what they're doing to protect instructional time? Because my kids have seen lots of movies at school, and I get told that, today was kind of a lazy day, Mom. I mean, what are you all planning to do on that? What have you looked into? What's the point?
It's a very fair question. I visited at length with school districts across the state of Missouri at our Show Me Curriculum Directors Conference, which was 2 weeks ago, I believe. The theme across those conversations was we had to protect instructional time. The fluff had to go. That's what I was told over and over again. For example, as a former classroom teacher, I might have taught the book Because of Winn-Dixie, and at the end chose to show the movie. I can make a learning event out of that by comparing and contrasting. But I can also make a learning event out of comparing and contrasting McDonald's and Sonic as well. So was that movie a good use of my instructional time? No. And those are things at each building level we are going to have to sit down as a staff, as a group, and say, what can we let go of that might be just fun activities so that we ensure we are covering the Missouri Learning Standards? So it will take a concerted effort on all of our part to address that. Do you have?
No, I'm just curious what other schools are doing.
And simply that's what they did. It was they taught bell to bell instead of maybe a reward day. And that's disheartening at a young age because they need those memory-making moments as well. So it comes back to us being creative. So how can I take that learning activity and cover a priority standard and 2 supporting standards? So it's possible. We can still cut out pumpkins, and we can do a lesson aligned to Missouri Learning Standard. I can do some symmetry in that. I can do shapes. But we as instructors are going to have to be cognizant of what our content standards are, and that every activity we are doing meets a standard and reinforces learning.
I'm going to just add on to that a little bit. I've spoken with several of the BRL principals that are looking at more than 2 4 days a week. That's obviously a concern. In certain courses, especially I'm thinking middle school and high school, because that's just my experience. It comes down to a lot of pacing. Everybody can look up and find what the learning standards are that we have to accomplish throughout the year. One of the most, the earliest lessons I learned as a new teacher was how to pace out my lessons so that I achieve all of those learning standards in the allotted time that I had. By shortening the number of days that you had to complete those, it's obviously going to require a lot of rethinking, a lot of reworking, and a lot of preparation in order for us to achieve all of those learning standards in a short amount of time. It's going to be work. That's just the hard truth. And bell-to-bell instruction, that's something that we do practice, we try to at least, but it's going to be sidetracked and go off on tangents or whatever, and I'll be the first to tell you, if any of your kids had me in high school for social studies, I can get on some tangents. But this week, it will be different. And there's no other answer. It will be different.
And I will follow up to say, when I talk about protecting instructional time, everything we do is aligned to a standard, but it's being more aware of how many repetitions we're giving each standard, how many, and then assessing as we go formatively. So when they have mastered, I can move on to this. And also, when I speak of instructional time, I mean we have to limit the calls to the classroom that interrupt instruction. We might limit our assemblies at 7th through 12th grade to during advisory time, which is not a true instructional hour. That's kind of like a study hall for our students. So packing those activities instead of maybe we were going to miss 5th and 6th hour, which included advisory and an instructional hour. Instead, we'll do our club meeting during advisory.
So, I have a different question, which is, I mean, I hear pros and cons. I know for Brian's argument on not having time with his kids, some of us learn different work-life balance, some travel support, that sort of thing. But has the school board determined what the criteria of choice actually boils down to? Like, what is the pro and the con? What are the decision-making data points to make the decision yes or no before moving forward? So I don't know that the board necessarily has specific criteria. They're still gathering information and looking at the data that we're all looking at, and they've looked at surveys and are reviewing the same information that we're looking at and looking for the information to make a good sound decision. So, but to answer your question, I don't believe there's a set criteria on what level they have reached to make a decision.
I was just curious, how many days right now are set aside for infant mother? And if it doesn't happen, like 24 days, how many days will they be set aside then? And how will they be covered, like, if it's Monday?
So in the proposed calendar, we have 3 weather days built in. So just for reference, the current 5-day calendar has 10 days built in. If we miss more than 3 days for inclement weather, we have to make those days up. And what I would suggest is that those days would be made up on Monday, so that by the end of the school year, we're still ending at the scheduled day off, or scheduled last day. Did that answer your question? Awesome. Thank you.
My question is totally different. I know that we have like 30% of the school districts that have changed to 4-day weeks, but out of some of those, we're now going to switch to some going back to 5-day weeks. I know of at least 2 school districts, I think one of which is Louis, that is going back to a 5-day week. Have we talked to any of those districts about why they did not work for them?
I haven't talked to him, but I looked it up today when I was looking at some information on it, and it just said that they went back because of, they didn't save the money that they thought they would, and they didn't, the test scores wasn't where they wanted to be.
I don't get nothing to use stage 5 now. Your test scores tell the truth right now, and that's the truth. It's not beneficial to the kids. Why are you changing it? Period.
I realize we ranged far afield from approximately what time the day would start and end. But as far as curriculum and development and change, which entails responsibility and accountability, Are there plans for our staff development, for our training, for all these other things? And then how do you monitor the effectiveness of that time?
We do have plans in the event that it is adopted. Some of that professional development and training is mandated by statute. So we will have those. As the curriculum director, we will be participating in vertical team meetings, we'll do vertical and horizontal team meetings. And in regards to how do we ensure that we're doing what we're saying we're doing, how are we going to measure that? That falls on every one of us as educators in this district. It's a personal policing, and then in addition to that, it is administration's responsibility through frequent supervision, not supervision, but observations in the classrooms. It is conducted by, are we spending extra time at recess? Do we need to police ourselves? And we said recess is 20 minutes, and it's going to be 20 minutes. And I'm the first to admit I love on a nice spring day to spend an extra 10 minutes out there for fresh air and sunshine. But it will require each and every one of us, if it's adopted, to police ourselves, and then it falls on administration to monitor that and be cognizant of what's happening in our buildings. Is there anything else?
I just wonder how you're going to do it.
We don't know yet. We don't know. We're learning somewhat. We're building the airplane as we're flying it.
In an effort to move ahead, we have 13 different slides we have to go through. We really appreciate your comments and concerns, but at some point we're trying to cover all these, and I know you have questions, and we can do all that at the end. We would ask that if it pertains exactly or specifically to that question, which these in a way do, there's nothing wrong with that, but if we could take care of that at the end, it would be a good steward of everyone's time.
Slide, please. Thank you. So what would the school district do to address food insecurity? So that is a concern for us. It is even on the 5-day schedule. So we would not be able to provide the federal school food service program on Mondays at this point under the current system. We are working on a grant to provide after-school meals for those who stay after school for any kind of activity, whether it's tutoring, practice, ball games, any school activity that they might have. So the question that I pose to the food service folks is there a way that we could provide something on the day that we're not in attendance based on that grant? I have not received an answer, but what I was thinking was something that would be a non-perishable sack lunch or something that could be sent home with our kiddos, much like the buddy packs that we use now. And we will continue the buddy pack program, but we will also continue to explore avenues on how to serve kiddos on that day off. But for sure, we will not be able to use the school food service program if we're not in attendance.
I have a question regarding food.
We're just looking at the time schedule and just trying to be.
Will the ladies and men who work in the lunchroom, will they work on Mondays?
So, I'm glad you asked that question.
Because I was wondering about it, because there's really no slide regarding this question. And that is like the paras. My son has a para, his income could be cut 20%. don't want to lose them. So, is everybody's pay going to stay the same? Who are the preparers, the custodians, and lunch ladies? And
So that specific question is something we're going to address later. But as far as it relates to food service, I spoke with the area or the regional director for OVA, and especially if this grant is approved to provide after-school meals for those kiddos staying after for tutoring and other programs, that the time that OVA employees would lose on Mondays, they make up the other 4 days because of doing the after-school meals. And we will address the question about school staff in a later slide, if that's okay. Thank you.
So our third question, we've kind of been all over and around this one, I will say. If students are present 1 less day per week, will they receive the amount of instruction? I will tell you, the State Department of Education requires at this time 1,044 instructional hours. Both proposed calendars will exceed the 1,044 instructional hours over a year. So it looks different in that over a complete school year, they will have received the required amount of hours, but it will not be the same as having 1 additional day of instruction.
So on that, related to that, so 30 minutes each day does not make up for 1 day of instruction for the week. It's look at the year over the time over the course of the year. So the 1,044 is just distributed differently over a 4-day schedule versus the 5.
We have to address having to reallocate the time working to protect the instructional time, but how is that also going to affect like fine and practical arts? Are students we're trying to protect the instructional time, are students going to lose time in fine and practical arts as well?
No, they will not lose. They will have the same amount. Let me rephrase that, Ms. Jessica. On a daily basis of the 4 days, their special class time will remain the same. At elementary, that goes up to 6th grade. So currently, all of our students, kindergarten through 6th grade, have 5 special classes a week. 1 class is art. That will remain. Each class will still have 1 art period per week at 50 minutes, just like they did. The same being with music, the same being with library, and the same being with PE. We added a computer class a number of years ago that is being taught by our art teacher, our music teacher, our PE teacher, and that is time that they spend generally learning and spending time on iReady and fun games. That would be the special class that they would not receive. Their iReady time will be covered during our intervention period in those classes. Back to your fine arts. At the high school, anywhere we have the 8-hour bell schedule, band gets the same amount of extra minutes as mathematics hour does, and so on. I'm sorry, question number 5. How will a 4-day week impact VOTEC and dual credit students? Our VOTEC students currently attend VOTEC at Arcadia Valley for 4 different programs. We are fortunate enough to be able to provide our agriculture program within district. So we have cut back on some of the programs that our students go to Arcadia Valley for. They will still go to AV 5 days a week. The district will still drive a bus for our students back and forth to VOTEC. It is my understanding, and I don't want to misspeak from the transportation director, that students will be responsible for arriving for VOTEC. That's no different than currently. If we have a snow day or we have a school holiday that does not align with Arcadia Valley's school calendar, then our VOTEC students have, for as long as I've been here, still attend VOTEC on the day that VOTEC is open, even if Clearwater isn't.
But there'll be a school bus bringing it here to get the VOTEC class. It will be on parents or the student to get themselves here on that day off.
That is my understanding, yes, as it is still currently when we are not in alignment with Arcadia Valley. In regards to dual credit students will be responsible for whatever college expectation that class sets forth. Some of our classes meet 5 days a week because they are instructed by our own staff that are employed also by Three Rivers. Some of them meet online. Those classes that meet online, our students go to the library, they do their classwork 3 days a week, they have 2 days off that they're sitting in the library doing homework. Our dual credit students would still be responsible for whatever the college that they're partnering with to complete their schoolwork on that day. No different than if they were actually in attendance at Three Rivers Mineral Area or wherever. Right now we contract with Three Rivers and Missouri State and West Plains.
Thank you. So if you could back up. I think we've asked for, the question is.
Yes, I've got a question about the VOTEC. If we're relying on parents and kids to get to school on Monday for VOTEC, if they're not able to, will that go against them on their attendance?
So, if we currently have, on the days that we, as we just discussed, students and families are required to bring kids to the school on the days that we're not in session, but VOTEC is. So, it's one of those situations where if a student chooses to go to VOTEC, this is one of the things that would have to be understood, that they would need to get to school on Mondays to catch the bus. So yes, the expectation is that they would come.
I mean, more people get skills off of that for lifetime jobs than anything else. And we're gonna see that.
Do you anticipate that students would be less likely to go get vocational training, and so we might see a decrease in vocational education, merely because they really, if they're given a choice, oh, I can stay home on Monday, or I can go to tech on Monday, I can see where they may, choose not to go to tech. And I think it's very important.
It's a great question, and I want to address kind of both of your questions in one. One of our neighboring school districts, Hamilton, for example, they're a 4-day school. Not only are they required to go on Monday, but they also have to leave school at 6:30. They're on the bus well before any of the buses running routes get to the school. There's not really a whole lot of difference. You're talking about missing, the Mondays. There's no difference than there is right now. I mean, there are days that we're in school and Arcadia Valley is not. And so students don't go to Arcadia Valley on those days and vice versa. So, I mean, to address your question, I'm not sure who you are. The first gentleman's question, sorry. still required to come, provide their own transportation. Once they get to school, we run a bus up there. And then to move on to your question, I can't speak because I've done it in high school, but I don't think you would see a downturn in any type of vocational practice. And that's something we're discussing, not just, making major changes on where we're going to be or anything like that, but we're in talks, we're trying to figure these things out. But no, I would anticipate there to be a drop in participation in tech. But there's still great opportunities that some of those students are going to need, they're going to want. I mean, if you go to tech, that's like you said, a career opportunity. And more kids are getting, practical information, knowledge from those. And if you're that kid that wants to do that, I believe that you'll still do it.
I can say right now, if that was in place right now, we have 2 current students that ride the bus. One consistent with the other one can give you by experience.
I was lucky enough to teach here for 33 years, and then I was lucky enough to be on the school board for 9 years. So I don't really envy some of these decisions you have to make. But as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about, it sounds to me that in order to get in a little bit of time here, we are putting a whole lot of pressure on our kids here. I want my kids to learn, and I want them to make decent grades, and I want them to enjoy coming to school, but I don't want to have so much pressure on them that I can't repeat anything they didn't understand in the first place, or, I don't know, I can see there's some pros and cons in all of this, but listening to that description here, I think you're going to have stressed out teachers, and I think you're going to have stressed out kids.
Okay, this is in regards to the VOTEC. Have you thought about doing any type of survey through current juniors that are in VOTEC and upcoming sophomores? Because I have a junior, and I can guarantee he will drop out of VOTEC next year because he won't see the difference in, okay, I have to go every Monday, but I will be off in the morning on the days AP's out. Because he doesn't rationalize that now. He's going to see I'm off every Monday. And I think for kids like my son, VOTEC is something that he needs. Because he's not going to go to college after he graduates. So I would really hate to see that program die because of lack of attendance. So I really think it's something that should be, or I don't know if you have already looked into talking with upcoming VOTEC students.
I can speak speaking with upcoming VOTEC students in middle school. However, what I will say as far as what I've talked to administrators at Ellington, and I mean truly Ellington's the only one I talked to, I'm not going to lie to you. It hasn't made a difference over there. I'm not going to say that that's going to be the case for every student because every situation is different. And we are just tasked with investigating and presenting information. I mean, there's going to be situations that we don't know the answers to. And there's going to be unique situations that maybe we're not going to have the correct answer. But I assure you, we are considering every possibility, as well as every teacher that works for Clearwater Arbor School District. We're all here to do the best thing for students. And that is what our role at the end of the day is. So, I appreciate your question. I can't necessarily answer it very well, but I hope I did a good job.
I just want to add to that. I have a junior that's in VOTEC, and, I'm sure he will not enjoy going on a Monday if we go down to a 4-day week, but it's my responsibility as a parent to make sure that he attends that day. That's my responsibility, to make sure that my child is attending school.
So, I think you still didn't need. So, just real quick, we're thinking Monday is the day that we would have as a day off because the bulk of our days off in the current schedule are already on Mondays. And that's pretty much how we arrived at getting that decision. Great decisions.
All right, question 6 is how does a 4-day week impact winter break and other holiday breaks? In my original, the presentation that I went through, I noted that there would be a difference, of course, with Christmas break. It would be roughly a week shorter than the 4-day week and the 5-day week calendar. We would come back earlier after we got off Christmas break. However, in both the 5-day week and the 4-day week calendar, we anticipate that they would be similar to previous years. So there would be some changes, minor as they may be, there would be changes going to the 4-day week. Does anybody have any particular questions about holiday breaks?
I can talk loud, I don't need a microphone. So, my curiosity about this is that a lot of schools offer a week full of
Let me finish off if you can't start over. I know you're loud, maybe they still can't hear, but it's hard to hear.
So, for holiday breaks, most schools have a week off for spring break. For the proposed calendar, has the school district ever considered, as opposed to having a party here, and a here, can you all consolidate that to have a week spring break as opposed to different weeks instead?
So it's a great question. I want to kind of touch base on that just real quickly. So the way that the calendar is proposed is the CTA has a calendar committee. And individuals on that committee meet periodically throughout the year or however, and they come up with a proposed calendar. That proposed calendar gets then brought up to Mr. Verhoeven, and then we take it to the board. I don't know that the CTA calendar committee has ever considered a full week off for spring break. I can tell you that the proposed calendars, both the 4-day and 5-day week, don't have it.
So I want to clarify, just real quickly. So actually, my office puts together a calendar, and then the calendar committee looks at it. Just for clarification. So, all right. Other questions?
Question 7 we have addressed, but I will address it again. How will the additional time each day be distributed? The additional time for grades preschool through 6th grade will be added to core instruction, English language arts, math, science, social studies, and in grades 7 through 12, it will be added to each instructional hour as we are on a rigid 8-hour bell schedule.
Question 8. Will the district offer childcare on the day off? And the answer is no, we don't have plans to do that. And I know that is a concern for many people in the community. So currently, and we talked about this just a while ago, we have 18 days off in the calendar this year, and in the proposed 5-day calendar next year. Of course, if we're off every Monday, that's going to double that time. I understand that, and I understand that that's going to be a burden for many families. The hope is that if all the days are scheduled on Mondays instead of different days throughout the week, that it'd be easier to schedule childcare on those days and to be able to provide the childcare. I actually struggle with this question myself, and I don't have a good solid answer for that.
I do. You can't get childcare on one day. Nobody's there to accept it. Nobody. One day. Nobody's going to accept it one day. You have to get on a several day plan, and then that's just one more day that we've got to do.
So as an owner at a local child care facility, it does pose a lot of difficult decisions. First off, I want to thank you guys for holding this forum to give the community an opportunity to express their thoughts, express what is concerning for our students. That is ultimately the goal here. What are we doing to provide educational services, whether it's through policing ourselves as educators, whether it's through transportation needs, whatever the needs are for our students. Our outcome should be, how are they productive members of society? What are we doing to do that? I think a lot of people here, we have personal agendas, and we shouldn't. The common goal is the students. I own a child care facility. We are not going to be able to accommodate all of those students on a Monday. We have limited capacity. Individuals are not going to be able to accommodate personal child care because by the law, if you have more than 6 children in your home, you have to have a license. There's a lot of financial stress involved in child care, as well as for the provider and the parents. I appreciate the comments that's being made here, but I do think we all need to be very open-minded of the external outcome that is going to affect our community in the long term, not just initial personal gains. I don't think that should be the question here. I am actually neither for a 4-day or a 5-day. I am actually for whatever does benefit the students, but I do have a question. I know everybody's focused on the Mondays off. We're taking days from, I know Christmas break, we're adding days to the end. So if you counted up the Mondays versus the days that we're already off, is it a huge difference?
So we had on the proposed 5-day, well, actually this year's calendar and the proposed calendar, 18 days scheduled off. So weeks less than 5 days, we had 18 days.
I'm not talking about just the weeks. I mean, because we have Christmas break that we're gonna take, kids won't be off that long. So that's gonna take some days off of parents having to find childcare for those days. And at the end of the year, we're adding on days. So those are days they're not gonna have childcare. I know it's gonna cluster the daycares on Monday. I'm not arguing that point, but I was just wondering, is the days gonna be a huge difference by the time we take away from Christmas break and add on to the end of the year? Yeah, on the 5-day versus 4-day.
For instance, on this year's calendar, student attendance days are 166. On the proposed calendar, 149.
All right, so this is going to cover 6, 7, 8 days. Maybe I'm not very good at math, but I'm going to figure this out. So we're going to go 2 more weeks a year, is that right? We're going to go an extra week back to Christmas break, an extra week at the end. We're going to go 30 minutes more to 80 gain off one day a week. Is that simple math? Is that I read that right?
So it's in that ballpark. Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're going to change it. We're going to go 2
So I think what you were proposing, if I understand it correctly, is we have 10 built-in snow days. So in other words, this year, we've had to call it at least 2 to 3 times. I think was it just 2? Okay. I'm glad you corrected me because I thought it was 3. I think it was an anticipation of 1 to not. So what you're saying is essentially take that off the top. Go ahead and just take it away from the calendar we previously had. Turn around and give spring break for a week.
Keep 5 built-in days. And
Okay, so you're saying keep 5 for snow days.
Keep 5 for snow
recovery.
days. And 5, we could give them a spring break.
Give them a spring break.
And then if we did go over, say we had 7 snow days, then we would add that to the spring break, where they would only have 3 days off. I mean, that was something you could, because you're gonna have snow before the spring. I mean, it's gonna come.
Yeah, I can understand that. I see what you're
Just
saying.
a thought to that.
Yes.
Okay, I understand that some people will be getting paid a little bit more, or at least what they already are. But aren't some of our people going to lose money? The bus drivers aren't going to be paid that extra day, are they? What about kitchen staff? Are they going to be paying for that extra day? Huh? Well, you've got, supposedly the teacher's pay is going up a little bit.
So the contracts would not go up because of this proposal. Now that's a separate issue, teacher pay, but it would not change contracts for teachers. So the amount of time that the teachers work would be redistributed over the course of the year and would look different, but it would be, I think we calculated it would be within 2 hours of what they currently are doing based on the current schedule, the proposed schedule. So we talk about kitchen staff that, specifically for OPA, that especially if we adopt or get the grant approved for after-school food service programs, that their hours would stay the same. That is correct. So we're gonna talk about that. That's like one of the last stations.
13.
All right, question 9 deals with athletics. I know I'm going to have a question over here, so I'm just going to come this way. How do 4-day weeks impact athletics? And I've asked Coach Moore, the athletic director, to be here, so if you do have any specific questions, he and I can kind of consult, try to answer those to the best of our ability. I have with me a list of information that was compiled by the athletic director and some other protocols and other 4-day school week districts are utilizing. If the 4-day week model is adopted, us as the administrative team, as well as the athletic director, will work to establish our own expectations. As it is right now, we don't necessarily have those expectations because the 4-day week calendar has not even been approved. So, do you have a question? Okay, that's a really great question. So I'm going to kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but the main portion of the question is, how is it going to affect athletic schedules as far as games, practices, that sort of thing. I can't necessarily answer for what our district is going to do for that yet, but I can give you some information from what other 4-day school week districts have done. And I can share some of those with you. Walden says it's all pros. They can practice anytime they want on one day off. They also schedule games on off days. Bunker says that they're still working on it, they're not sure. but they are most likely going to allow high school coaches to practice when they want to. No decision is made at the time. We had talked longer about junior high sports or elementary. They do pose a little bit more, no question. High school, athletes, a lot of them provide transportation. Junior high, elementary, game, athletics, and games, that sort of thing, they wouldn't be able to drive themselves like high school. Twin Rivers, they have a policy that they are not allowed to practice on Mondays until 3 p.m. Neely feels the same. Coach Moore. Are all these off on Mondays? So I just wanted to clarify, most of these are going to be Monday schools off. Winona says that they can practice anytime they want. They practice earlier in the days, and then they can go out, have some time, more time spent with their family. Evidence is practices are 100% up to the coach's discretion.
Can you take the microphone to him? We got some people on the far end.
The only thing that most of the schools asked for was consistency. Most of them want their teams out by at least 2 o'clock, so kids can work in the afternoons and nights. But like I said, the only thing that they really wanted was consistency. So if you have practice every Monday at 10 o'clock, have practice at 10 o'clock. After the day, after the day. The only two that don't were Gillyville and Twin Rivers, which also have a school policy and not practice until 3 o'clock.
Any other specific questions related to athletics?
Question 10 asks, how will per day week impact student achievement? Our answer is we don't know. DESE has done a study for the state of Missouri. Their study that was done by an outside agency says that there was little to no negative impact on student achievement. I can't answer that question for Clearwater because for the past 26 years we've done 5 days. And I only know the data that we have from being a 5-day school week. That would be yet to be determined.
Yeah, in the 5 days we're having a hard time getting through the curriculum, we're going to go ahead and take 1 day away, even though we tested in Missouri beneath 50 percentile, we're going to take that day away. It just doesn't sound like, who are we trying to please? What's the game? What's the end game for teacher retention? You guys keep preaching teacher retention. I called all those schools you're talking about. They all have one thing in common. They're looking for teachers too. 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. Science teachers study. Nobody wants to work. Everybody understands that teachers have a hard job. I wouldn't, sure. But I assure you, I'm glad that they're there to teach my kids, but I really need them to know that I want my kids to have a good education. And I don't think they're going to get it in 4 days because we've got one that excels and one that if he gets a long weekend, has to retrain everything he learned on Friday because he forgets it by Tuesday. So, how's the achievement going to perform for them?
Unfortunately, I don't know the answer to that. I can tell you that every August we see a slip from the 3-month break. And if you were asking me personally, I'm going to say I would go for all school year, a year-round school. And so lots of people would probably take me out the back door and not want to hear that.
I wanted to go to school 5 days. I pushed for 6 days because I wanted to get caught up with the rest of the world. I don't want to be in a region that they call, rural, and our kids not getting quality education. I want those kids to be able to reach out and go out into the world as smart, trained individuals and not like he's definitely from a rural community.
And I want the same thing, sir. I want our students to graduate Clearwater, proud to have been a Clearwater graduate and ready to be a quality citizen that gives back.
Then my question once again is, who are we trying to make happy? If that's what you want, and that's what the good teachers want, and that's what you want, who are we trying to make happy by going to a 4-day week? By disrupting everybody's schedule? Who are we trying to make happy?
I can't personally answer that, sir.
Hand the phone to him. Who are you trying to make happy by going to the 4-day program? Who's the calendar people that talk to you and said, this is the calendar that I want done?
So, it's no doubt that the teacher recruitment and retention it's top on the board. I guess it is. But if they're not out there, if those teachers are still being sought after
by the 4-day schools already, what makes you think that you're going to get them by us going 4 days a week when they're already searching for them?
And we're paying them less money.
We're paying them less money. Greenville's got a starting salary of $10,000 a year more. Why is their salary higher than ours? When they're a smaller school, we got 900 kids versus 700 kids. Where's our efficiency? Where's the money going? Where's the poor being slid on the table after we can pay those teachers the money that they want? And make them happy, make us happy for 5 days, make them happy, make more money.
Can I see your budget?
I can probably help.
I will tell you that for each school district, the tax base is different, and so we are at the state minimum and have been for years and years and years at 275 on our tax base. To increase teacher salaries where they need to be, we're looking at an increase on our tax base of 90 cents. Or, yes, 89 to 90 cents. Well, it's not that simple, but it's significant. It would be significant for families, and I think that would be as much of a hardship for many of our families without some really good planning and work to get that passed.
But you're experiencing hardship over across the whole community by going to a 4-day plan. And you're willing to do this with no plan. You have no plan. Everything we say, you got an agenda for it. We're looking at that. We're looking at that. We're looking at that.
Alliance, as we're building here, there's a whole lot.
My biggest concern also is that this is a generation who went through COVID, through the school shutdown, and we saw them being not in the classroom. Grades were down, test scores of math and reading on the lowest level, not including food insecurity, unstable home environment, these kids are left unattended, these sorts of things. So I don't understand how this is supposed to in any way not impact achievement. It has to impact achievement. If anything, we should be getting these kids in class more to make up for the deficit they got. That's what we forced them to go through COVID. Instead of giving them less time at school, we should be looking to give them more instruction, get back where they should have been in the first place.
As a career educator who has written curriculum both for language arts and for K through 8, I did some research. The RAND Corporation, which was quoted earlier, Christopher Dodd and Andrea Phillips in 2023 had studied 6 states, Colorado, Idaho, Missouri, New Mexico, Oklahoma, and South Dakota, and said academics were down a little every year. Paul Thompson from the Early Childhood Research Quarterly says kindergartners in a 4-day school, a 4-day week, they are lower on their test scores when they hit their grade, because now they've had 4 years of 4 And higher achievers miss out on specialized instruction because they're just not there. Emily Norton from the journal Educational Evaluation and Policy Analysis says that it is significantly slowed growth. And again, from Education Week, after 3 years, student growth drops and grows even slower than those students that are at 5 days. Math scores more than reading. 0.05 to 0.15 in 3 years and 0.2 after 8 years. And then Rand Corporation, God knows. In the long run, the benefits may not outweigh the drawbacks. And this sounds like this is a massive undertaking, and if this is going to be proposed for the next school year, it may be unattainable.
Thank you for bringing that.
I don't think anyone can disagree that everybody here knows that your recruiting and your maintaining staff is the issue. It is not how many days we go, it's can we get somebody here. But what have we done? And everybody else knows our salaries in the tank against everybody else's 4 days or 5. So what else have we done except for this? Put a Band-Aid on it and smile and everybody be happy because they're working a day less. What else have we done? What programs have we looked at cutting or tailoring back? Or how are we going to try to achieve the salaries that we need to get people here? Because if we don't do that, it doesn't matter how many days a week we do. You got to have some people here that don't have to pay. And if you don't do the Jerry Maguire thing, it's show me the money. You're not going to have no teachers. So there's your problem. This does not address that. So I don't know why we're at this.
Looking at it, if that's the problem.
I'm going to have to go in a different direction. I think kids are in school too much. I'll tell you why. You start at 4 years old and they can go all day, which I think is insane. Okay? Then they go all through the school year, then they go to summer school for a month. And then after that, their parents send them to every Bible school in the county. Okay, until the end. And what I found as a high school teacher for 32 years, by the time those kids get to be juniors and seniors, they're burnt out, they're done. You know, I didn't even go to kindergarten, and I don't feel grotesquely stupid. I really don't. And so I think that I'm not saying that I'm in favor of the 4-day school week, because I am concerned about the financial burden of people with daycare. I am really concerned about that. But since, kids are in school long enough, and I always thought, 30 years that I taught, if we made better use of our time, we could get everything we needed to get done a lot less. And one more thing, as far as the learning standards go, when you take the learning standards for a grade level, especially in high school, and you take those and break them down into teachable objectives, there's about 250 of them. And you've got 174-day school. Okay, so we got some other issues we need to look at as far as Missouri education.
I think some paid teachers, I know this group of teachers, we're not, yes, we would love more pay. Who wouldn't? There's not anyone in this audience that could say they would love more pay. But part of the things that teachers are dealing with is like the behavior issues. We have no behavior that you're on the no-slide list. We try math, they don't want them. We try sentences,
they don't write them. Not all parents have that, some wonderful parents. We call parents, they defend them. And then they're mad at us because we can't take care of a bullying situation and we're burnt out. And I get a lot out of my students Monday through Thursday. And like I said, I am not really worried for work. I want what's best. It's not going to affect me either way. But when I look on Fridays and trying to get them to sit still and focus and listen and pay attention along with the other behaviors that I have going on in my class is exhausting, mentally exhausting. I get home, I have nothing left. Now, I don't know that 4 days is the answer to that. I'm just saying we're facing a lot of other things besides just effectively teaching the curriculum. We tried. We're dancing, singing, writing our own poems. But if you've got a kid that's hitting somebody in the back of the room, and then you stop for that, it's just constant, and it's getting worse. You know, and I'm not, you know, I have my own child that the Lord I'll never get to raise, but it starts at home. It's, you know, we're washing kids' clothes. We're buying kids' clothes. We're washing their water bottles. I mean, we're not just being a teacher. We're kind of being a parent to a lot of children. I bought their lunches. I gave them my lunch because they came to school with dental surgery and didn't have food. We care. It's not just about money. We're burnt out. And so, yeah, I know it's going to be able to be hard. And I don't, like I said, I am not for it or against it. I don't know what the answer is. But we're having openings where we don't have certified teachers to fill them because they are leaving left and right to do something else to make more money. We love what we're doing. But something has to change. I don't know what that answer is. But teachers are going above and beyond. And if you think we're not, take a step in that building. And I don't mean teachers, just teachers, administrators. I mean, I have parents rolling in at 5 o'clock or tutoring out over at 4:15. Sorry, I forgot to have a kid at tutoring. I'm like, how do you forget that? You know, and then I'm missing my child's things. So that's also what we're dealing with besides just curriculum. It's changed. It is completely different than when I was in school. I mean, I got taught in second grade for talking. So, you can believe that one.
All right, next question. Will school days be longer to make up for the time? Kind of already addressed that. We've talked about, shortening, Christmas break, adding a week to the end of the school year. So that is, right now, with the proposed 4-day calendar, looks like the number of days would actually be less, but the daily time spent on campus would increase. So yes, there will be an increase in the year, of course, also. Any specific questions related to that question?
So how will a 4-day school week impact students who receive special services? So in this scenario, our district special education staff would communicate with our parents to determine what adjustments or amendments would need to be made to students' IEP to make sure that they are getting the services that they need, including our related services, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech and language therapy. Because every IEP is developed with each individual student's need in mind, we would continue to collaborate with our parents, just as we do now, to develop those quality IEPs so that we are meeting their needs.
This is the question we've been trying to get at all evening. How will a 4-day week impact teacher pay and contract time? Teacher pay would not change because of 4-day calendar. The contract time would be distributed over the year that we discussed earlier. So for kitchen staff, we talk about OPO, if we get the grant. would stay the same. So what would it look like for paras, for example? So their time would also be redistributed over the course of the school year, just in much the same way that it is for the teaching staff. We haven't specifically talked about clerical staff in the offices, but I would suspect that those hours would be the same, redistributed over the course of the school year as well. For 12-month employees, support staff, we're looking at no change for those folks because they're 12-month employees and here every day anyway. So what that might entail doing for custodians in particular, perhaps they would, they would probably follow their current schedule. They work an 8-hour shift, come in, work the shift, and then the night shift would come in and work their shift. For maintenance crew, much the same. They're 12-month employees. They would work their current shift. So, do you want to discuss that?
Okay. So bus drivers, including bus drivers, we would not reduce their pay. Yes, they would drive less. However, maintaining buses as far as keeping all the seats wiped down, sweeping them out, washing the bus, those are things that we have to try and squeeze in between. This gives a variable opportunity for that to happen. We have currently 9 different bus routes. Not everybody could be washing their bus at the same time. We don't have those facilities to make that happen. However, we do have 2, so we would have to stagger their times too. And you have to understand that they don't work an 8-hour shift. They work 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, and that 4-hour day makes up their entire day. So they wouldn't be here the entire time on time off, and their pay would not be impacted in any way.
Thank you. So I don't know, so for 12-month, clerical staff, for example, what we would need to cover, I'll take my office, for example. We would need to cover the additional half-hour, but we would ask them, and they currently do it, stagger the time they come in. Some come in earlier and leave earlier. Some of them come in later and leave later. So we would just need to adjust that to cover the additional half-hour that we need to be over.
Okay, since going to a 4-day week is not going to increase teacher pay, it's not going to increase bus driver pay, but it has to be saving district money. What are we getting for that? Are we going to have more buses, pay bus drivers more so we can deliver all the kids? I mean, what's the advantage since no one's getting more pay apparently? What's the savings going to?
So, and I think that's the misconception is that we're going to save a significant amount of money. We looking at something 2 to 5%. I don't know that I see that. I don't think that we're not going to save money. If that's the reason why we're doing it, it's not going to work. Well, I would expect that we would try to use those dollars to work on the most important thing, and that's attracting teachers. Well, and bus drivers, yes. Yeah, sure.
The research I did says 1 to 2%. But for the budget you have, that's a significant amount of money all told. It's not to us, yeah, maybe not, but to a school district. So 5% is extremely small. But that's probably not. The buildings stay open, the lights stay on, things like that.
Isn't there a current bill in legislation to give you a tax credit back, 5% tax credit for schools that go 5 days a week, 2%? 2% for schools that go 5 days a week.
I believe there is, but I don't know that it's fast.
That's not going to save you more than what they're going to give you. Once again, no work.
Now, last year when this was considered, and I attended the school board meeting, they said that it would impact some people's pay, and then we'd be able to go back to a 5-day because of that. Do you think that is no longer the case, because it was last year?
So, at this point, we're looking at keeping everybody's salaries the same. And if we were to try this and needed to go back to a 5-day week, we would just reverse the process and convert the hours over the course of the year back to a 5-day calendar, is the way I see it. I'm probably oversimplifying that, but that's what I would see. We're making every effort to not cut salaries unless we just absolutely have to, but we're making every effort to give everybody where they need to be.
Okay, mine are not questions, I have 2 points. First of all, I'd like to reiterate what was stated at the beginning. I ask you to remember that these people are not the people who proposed this. They are just tasked with the job of giving you the information. It is not their personal opinion. The people who will make this decision are your 7 board members that you voted for. That's who makes the decision, so please do not hold it personally against these people if you disagree with what they've stated. Secondly, what I keep hearing tonight is, be careful what you wish for. We would all love to be told, hey, you only have to work 4 days a week, period. But we have to think about what my word that worked with me for 9 years are unintended consequences. And what I have heard tonight repeatedly is we do not know and have not considered all of the unintended consequences of this decision. And I just ask that the Board of Education think about all of these unanswered questions and unintended consequences before they make this decision for all of our children.
So to back up what David just said, so we're going to do always the same 2%. We're going to change everybody's lives, everybody's schedules for a May. If it doesn't work, we're going to go back. We're going to cancel the daycare. We're going to cancel all the plans that some of us will have to alter a few things to pull this off. So we're going to change all that for a May. And just like she said, I'm going to ask that everybody think about what's truly the best for the kids. That's completely disrupting everything. If it's for the best, then hell, let's disrupt it. But if it's not, let's put a lot of thought into this. This can change a lot of people's lives. Maybe for the better. If it's for the better, let's go. But if it's not for the better, let's think about the whole thing. And that's all I'm asking. And I'll tell you what else, and I'll stop after this. But if we do save a couple of money, let's give it where it goes to the teachers that worked here for 25 years and put in all this time that didn't have 4-day weeks. They put in 20. I'm married to one of them. She puts up with me. She deserves it.
I think a couple people have hit kind of the nail on the head, and I'm not going to give my opinion either way. I never had this whole thing. If you've ever known me, kids always come first. Bottom line, it doesn't matter. If you say, if the school board says 5 days, I'll be there 5 days. If the school board says 4 days, I'll be there 4 days. But I'm not there for them. It's kind of like going to church. I don't go there for the people I go with. That just makes it more enjoyable. Things of that nature. You compare. We're neighboring. We've been around. We compare ourselves to our neighbors. We're looking at what our neighbors are doing. We're looking at trying to be more attractive and all of those types of things. But I can tell you right now, and conversation goes around with teachers multiple times, and they talk about places like Poplar Bluff, Farmington, different things like that. I've lost great, phenomenal teachers to those areas. You can't compete with $10,000 difference in a pay salary, and then over a lifetime, you look at it and you've been here 30 years, and you walk out the door making less than $50,000 a year. But have you go to another school district, you make $74,000. That's a dramatic difference just in 1 year. We've all seen what a car costs. In 1 year, that's a really decent car that you can travel back and forth with. It might not have cost you anything in 1 year. But what could you do with that over multiple years? We can't compete in Papa Bluff. When Chris Hahn was the superintendent in Papa Bluff, he was very wise. He was one of my mentors. And one of the things that he did is he advocated for a tax increase to the community, and they seen the value in it. And not only did they do that, they got behind having a great mayor, they got behind having a great city planner, and then next thing you know, what's Papa Bluff got that we don't? Everything. Okay? We're bound in our county. We do have individual landowners. We're lucky to have some of that. But also the majority of our land is locked in the government pocket. You know, and I'm not being political in that. We are fortunate to live where we live. I hunt, fish, talk about it here this evening. Love it. But that's one of the sacrifices you get to do that. However, the only way to change real recruitment and teacher retention, and I've heard many people say it many different ways, and that's increased pay. I'm not advocating for me. I'm advocating for keeping good, high-quality educators in front of your children that give them the best opportunity of life in the future.
All right, so I appreciate everybody for talking today, because last time that we heard about this, unfortunately we were not given the time, and when the time that people wanted to sign up for the school board meeting, it was as if they had their own agenda, where we were silenced. So I appreciate the time of hearing all of this, and I don't advertise this, but I work for federal government. I don't want to be furloughed either tomorrow or next Friday, okay? However, I go to Washington, D.C., while my butt in heels to the hill and talk to my senators and our representatives. Now, before the school board meeting, I am already signed up. I will be speaking. However, I can assure you, I already have a letter to Governor Carson asking to increase and hopefully help our education system, because we are in crisis, we are dying. Our teachers deserve high pay. So I even attached the 144-page of the Arkansas Senate Bill 294, the Lord's Act. If you have not read that, please go read it. All of the teachers that are hired will start at $50,000, and those who are retained will get $2,000 a year. Not only did I say to the governor, I will be emailing it to my state senator as well as my state rep. I know Ashton is out the door because he's retiring. However, maybe that will be a good way for a successor to do something about our educational system. So if I were you, when I can walk my butt to the hill in Washington, D.C., go contact your state rep and also contact your state senator, because they can also make changes to our educational system. These people right here, some of us take them for granted and we shouldn't. So that's all I want to say. Thank you so much.
Okay, so we all know we love our teachers, but I do have a question in regards to the teacher retention. So this is obviously something that the 4-day school week is a benefit, hopefully, to retain teachers and draw in teachers, which is what we need. And I do believe our teachers deserve it. I'm not against that. I think they deserve the move. But I tried to personally do some research on, does this really actually retain teachers? Because there's a teacher shortage, there's a worker shortage in general. So if we lack on our children's education for
people say maybe not for elementary. I mean, but if this is something that, as you see in some of these, statistics, that they lack education by the time they're in 8th grade. I have a child that would be in kindergarten. If Clearwater goes for 8 years doing this, I don't want to look back and say, he's now a year behind because we went 4 days, and we didn't even retain teachers. So, has there been any studies, has there been any, proof that this will actually bring in the teachers? I mean,
I can tell you that there's been a ton of in-depth studies on retention. Through the research I did, every community is different. That's what each one of them has to do, figure out what's best for their community. And will it?
Has any school been in 40 weeks long enough that you have that information? I don't know.
State of Missouri, it's been your first one in state of Missouri is in 2011. So, and then right now you have about 160 as of last year. So,
I mean, I can still see these 40 schools that have a laundry list of open, appointments. And so it's like, okay, is this really, I mean, if this is going to bring in quality educators, then let's do it. But if it's not, I mean, there's more negatives. That's just where I'm at.
I don't think any of my career when I was in your district, they bring in 20 applicants for elementary job. Okay. When I was at their meeting, they asked me to go where did so I guess 4 from all. That's it. So everywhere you can come in. As you said, everything's going to be down. So this is the way that people are trying, whether it works or not, that's the most research I did. It's just that shows some, but up north, we've got more money.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you go to school going 4 days, making more money, right on, that's what I know, like anybody. But, I mean, we're going 4 days, and you're the lowest paying district in the BRL, then who's coming,
For me, the biggest concern is
I'd like to add that, and remind everyone, that the bulk of the teacher effort is not during the day in the classroom. It's in preparation and paperwork post-school day. And it's every night, when I taught, it's every night it's late. So the question is, would I rather be doing my paperwork at 10 o'clock on Monday morning or midnight on Sunday night? And so if I've got a choice to go to a district that's $10,000 behind and works on Monday, I ain't going. I'm going somewhere, where I can use that Monday to catch up on the post-class paperwork and then also prepare for the classes that are coming up. And that's something we need to consider.
So what would it consider, I mean, if you think about this really, the stress the teachers are under is what you're receiving from your children. So if the teachers are less stressed because they have that one day to prepare without the interruption, wouldn't they be more productive and your child would be more productive?
And just, yes, I can't disagree with that, but that's only one avenue of the stress that they deal with. There's lots more stressors that they could list for you that are even beyond that. Is that a big one? Yeah. It's a big one.
If we would have been on the leading edge of this, like Ellington and other schools that went to 4 day first, don't you think they've already robbed that teacher pool that wants to go to the 4 day week? Don't you think we're behind on that?
because there's no more teachers coming out of the mine.
supposed to be building and nurturing and educating good employers, employees, and providers. So it's going to be really disheartening when you find out that the work week is not 4 days, that in the real world it's Monday through Friday. And I think that as a commitment, we need to instill in children so that they understand the benefits of a commitment and working hard and achieving something. I think to say, well, you know, you're a little stressed, so let's give you a day off every week. Well, it's going to really long when you grow up.
As a stakeholder and a past teacher at Clearwater, I understand the stressors of teaching in the public school system, but we're in it for the kids. Everything we do is for the kids. As a community, what can we do to resolve this problem? Let's design a parent-teacher organization. Let's have more public forums for when issues arise, that everybody is educated and we are not blindsided with different issues that's occurring. I understand those kids. I have 82 of them in my childcare facility. I get it. It can be stressful. But what can we do to promote incentives, not only for the staff members, all staff members, what can we do to help the children? I understand you're talking about enhancing the curriculum. Are we doing that now? Are we doing that currently? I know you guys are. So what can we do to continue the promotion of that? If it is raising taxes because legislation, I know, Mary, you're contacting that. That's not how the law works. The law works as pay tax increases teacher salaries. If that's what we need to do to be competitive, then that's what we need to do to be competitive. But we also need to instill where those taxes are going by educating the public. What are we doing in our school district? What extracurricular activities can be fine-tuned? What is that something that we could look at and reevaluate in the classroom teachers? You know, trips that cost an extenuating amount of funds. What can we do to help promote a well-balanced education in a well-balanced community? What can we do? Sitting here tonight, what can we do to help fix the problem?
I promise I won't say I will say everyone. Well, my name is Kathy Shear, and I teach 7th, 8th, and 8th grade history. I grew up in Ellington. I remember sitting in 6th grade and thinking I wanted to be a nurse. My mom wanted me to be a nurse. And secretly out on the back porch, I was holding my brother Ransom as the principal. Okay? And I wasn't a very good one, and that's why you guys are safe. But I've been many of your children. And yes, I've been sitting here, I'm not a good crier, I'm not a good crier. So you can look, this is what I look about naked. Okay? So I could have gone somewhere else. I could have gone to Papa Love. I had connections there, I could have networked there. I married a great guy. I tried to convince him to move to Ellington this year. And so here I am. My principal in Ellington said, please don't leave us. It was hard. It was where I grew up. My family was there. I had a great teacher. Her name was Linda Chigwood. She's why I became a teacher. Because I looked at her and I thought, she made a difference in my life. And I want to make a difference in someone else's life. I didn't grow up in a perfect home. My mom was a single mom. She was the first woman in the state of Missouri to work in a lead mine. She had everything coming against her and nothing going for her. She was divorced in 1974. She was a woman working in a man's job. So I wanted to be happy with whatever salary I get. I never, ever, you can ask my coworkers, did I ever complain about the salary that I make? One thing positive that's come out of this meeting tonight is I hear people, and you don't know how much it makes a teacher happy to see parents come out and be involved in their child's lives. I want to see more of it. When you said, let's do a parent-teacher PTA, let's work together. And I'm going to say this, and it may not be popular, and Mr. McFadden may call me in the office tomorrow. Okay? I don't care if we do 5 days,
care if we do 4. But what I do care about is that on most days I have kids that are apathetic. And I don't know some of you, I don't know if it's your child or not, but if you have worked with me, you know, Mr. McFadden, that on any day, Mrs. Cal, Mrs. Chadbourne, that I will do anything I possibly can. It may be singing, it may be dancing, it may be talking about a Greek battle that someone had a faster go not more, not burning off calories. Okay? But I want them to learn. Kids come in that room and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't stand history, my mom didn't like it, my dad didn't like it, I don't think I would like it. Well, don't you say that? I want them to be informed citizens so they can come to meetings like this and they can say something that's going to be moving in the heart of someone. And I'm going to tell you, I have a husband that's a school board member, and I'm going to tell you right here in front of everyone, God and everyone, we don't always agree. Any sheriff, can I get an amen? Okay? And I'm not getting in trouble when I get in the car tonight, so say on the prayer. But I couldn't have gone anywhere. When he and I got married, I said, you know what? I'm driving back and forth to Ellington. I want to get involved in the community that I'm going to be living in. Guys, you're stuck with me. I have 4 more years of retirement. I found out this. But I don't think I'm going to be able to stop. Okay, so Mr. McFadden may be able to call me son. But I love your kids. I've been sitting up here crying. I tried to hold on in because I'm an ugly fighter. It hurt my heart because I do care. I do care. I don't know who you are on the red hat. I'm going to tell you something. I care. And I don't care if I'm at that school 10 hours. And there's some days I haven't. And you can ask my husband. I will go home and I watch the boring videos, history videos, and I have convinced myself when I retire I'm going to make some exciting ones. There's some really cool ones out there. Okay? But my point is that I could have picked somewhere else. And I could go somewhere else and make more money. I could go somewhere else and take the education I have and make more money. And although on those bad days, I just want to cry all the way home and play my loud music, dance a little bit in the car. At the end of the day, there's not a job that's more fulfilling than knowing that not only have I tried to make a difference in a kid's life, on a lot of days, it's that they've made a difference in my life. I didn't go into teaching for the money. Do I need money to survive in the world that we live in? Absolutely. At the end of the day, whether I have 5 hours per class period or I have 30 minutes, I'm going to try my very best with God's help to give them something that's going to make them an informed citizen that can go out and they can come back and say, when they go to Washington, D.C., they say, well, where are you from? I'm from Piedmont, Missouri. You're going to say proudly, right? At the same time. And they don't look at us and go, oh, where are you from? They're going to go, oh. So tell me a little bit about yourself. I have a great school system. I have people that do, and they do everyone's name in school, not because we were in trouble either. Because we get to know our kids, and that's a great thing about being in a small rural school. And kids are not a number, they're a person. And that's all I have to say about that. I know our community bonds together no matter what we do.
I just want to add one more thing to what Ms. Larissa said. As far as the community and giving and things like that, I'm at the elementary, and I know both of our banks, all of our businesses, parents, they contribute, they give. There's no doubt that those hearts are behind it with their pocketbooks, making things like that happen for elementary kids. Just this week, Dr. Seuss Week, when you're, brought in a balloon archway that was Dr. Seuss themed. Kids have been dressing up, teachers, things of that nature. So I want to thank the businesses, the parents, and our community for being supporters of the school.
Yesterday, Mr. McFadden and I were conducting an interview, and at the end of the interview, the standard question is, what questions do you have for us? And this very poignant young lady looked at us and said, why do you choose to stay in Clearwater? Took us back a minute. I share what Mr. McFadden shared. But 26 years ago, I was a 21-year-old mom. Had 3 job offers. Clearwater paid the highest. It was Clearwater, Cape Girardeau, and Leopold. The only 3 interviews I conducted. I came here because I was close to the family and I had children that I wanted them to know their grandparents. And I also came here because this district paid the most. I was a student at South Iron High School. Please do not hold that against me. But I lost some of my best teachers to Clearwater School District because Clearwater School District paid them. I stayed here because this district invested in me as much as I invested in them, and as much as I invest in all of my students and every member of this community. At the end of the day, we have to have teachers, and we're fighting a battle across the state. And every one of you hit it at some point tonight. There's only one way to fix it, and it's money. It's sad, but it's true. And I don't want to pay any more taxes, because when I was that teacher that started in 1998, we qualified for free and reduced lunches. But I stayed because of the integrity that's in this district, because I was welcomed with open arms, and I saw potential for the kids that are here. And God willing, in 3 years I will finish my career here. But I want to leave a legacy that has a school district full of quality teachers that love kids more than I even did. And we're not going to be able to do that whether we have 4 days, 5 weeks, 6 days, however many, until we put our money where it's at. And that comes, thank you so very much. Yes, the governor has said he's going to make it 38,000 and 40,000. It's a grant. It falls back on us as a community. And if we want a quality education for our students, we band together instead of against each other. And we put our children first, and we work together to find a solution. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I've got one here.
So my question expands on that and what Larissa said. So I believe you said earlier that Wayne County has minimum tax levy. When was the last time that that was explored? Because regardless of order versus 5 day, we've got 3 universal teachers better. So do we know how long ago that was put to a vote to the citizens of Wayne County?
I don't know when it was last brought to a vote for teacher pay.
I don't know that an operating levy, everything else is in your loan. Wasn't it Lane Hill? Operating levy, we've done bond.
We've done bond issues, 1994 is what I heard.
So a bond issue would be different than an operating levy.
I don't know that we've ever done an operating levy. Just to tap onto that, I know Greg asked, Mr. Darrell is at 90 cents. You have to understand it's not just 90 cents, it's depending on the, you see your tax statement from the county, right now it says 275 times whatever your properties are, that would be up to 365, then if we went to 90 cent acres. So that's something for another discussion, and we would hope that if that goes to the voters, and all of you can support it.
So how do you bring that to a vote?
Thank you.
Like, how do you bring that out?
How do you bring that to a vote before the people?
Yeah.
So to bring it to a vote, that we would, as a district, and have board approval to bring that to the voters, and it would be on an election ballot. So that it would be a board decision to bring it to a vote of the folks here in the community, and then would go to the vote of the folks. So you'll be able to vote on the ballot.
You're right with that. And the other part is, I was comparing Poplar Bluff, that's an urban area, different county. They have national forest also, except for they just have a moving economy, which makes a huge difference in that capacity. We can't keep up. So when you talk about that, or St. Louis, Rockwood School District, Kansas City, Springfield, those things, their finances are much better than a school district in a rural area. But you almost want it to go into a big pot and be dispersed per student equally, because they talk about equitability. That's a whole other topic for another night.
Okay, folks, I think we've tried to answer your questions to the best that we possibly can. I've tried to be open and transparent with you. If I don't know the answer, I wanted to be honest with you. I tried my very best to be honest with you about giving the answers. I so appreciate that you came tonight with your questions and concerns and comments. We've had some wonderful discussion, and I appreciate your attention and patience with us as we talk this tonight. I appreciate it more than you know. Thank you so much, and yes, and we'll continue to gather information and make the business.
Before you leave, the school board is the people who make the decision. We elected them. We have to talk to them and tell them our view. Otherwise, we will suffer just like Washington, D.C. We got to get it to speak up. This is our town. This is our people.
You feel ready. You did.